that ruthless side of me that slips out every once in a while. And I just got rid of a baby. That's one minus. Bring it back. You did. Simple arithmetic tells us that we have indeed a heavy burden. Somehow the people in this country must build as many college classrooms and laboratories in the next 10 years as we have built in the first 3 centuries of our history. We must find 100,000 new college teachers by the time the first term of the next president is ended, and we must find the resources to finance this immense task. Today it costs $2,500 a year to educate a student in a private college and $1,600 in a public university. A decade from now, it will cost more than $3,300 for a private institution and a private college, and $2,200 for a public education. Within a decade, the cost of 1 year of college will outstrip the per capita American income for 1965. Just consider that. Just consider the expense that's going to exist for those parents who want to send their children on to college, or for the college student himself just 5, 8, 10 years from now. That will mean, the figures show that this will mean, that college education will once again be beyond the reach of many middle-income families here in the United States, who to put a single child through a single year of college may have to spend half of what they earn in any given year. That obviously is unsatisfactory. And it seems to me we have to plan now to avoid that kind of problem, for that kind of a burden is intolerable in the United States. This nation is the home of the land-grant college system, the bastion of the principle of universal education. It would be a national tragedy if college once again became the home of a privileged few. It must not be allowed to happen, and I am not going to let it happen if I am elected President of the United States. The federal government added $5 million this year to its support for colleges. I think it is as important, certainly, as improving them abroad. I think it's important that we take the steps now to deal with what we should. I think we should make the same kind of investment today for those who cannot afford the loans, for those who cannot afford to go on to a college or university. One of the major ways is again to meet the problems of the 1970s. Second, it seems to me we must encourage flexible experiment with ideas. We can arrange, for example, work-study programs, which allow students to attend school part-time. We can undertake a guaranteed loan program. We can enable those with families to go back to school. Whether for a college degree, balanced budget in the United States, and more than a balanced budget, we would have a surplus in the United States. Considerable surplus if we didn't have the war in Vietnam. We spend $85 million every day. We spend $600 million a week. We spend $2.5 billion a month. We spend $30 billion, more than $30 billion a year on that conflict. If that war was ended, if we could go to the negotiating table and end that war, not only save the lives of Americans, end the devastation in South Vietnam, bring our troops home, and save that money, I don't think we would have the financial crisis. I have committed myself to a different course, and we've been following over the period of the last few years, dealing with the war in Vietnam. I would hope that that course would resolve that conflict, and we would be able to put our monetary house in order. But I think until that's settled, we're going to have difficulties. Well, first, I think what is fair would be a lottery system in which everybody's treated equally and that people are selected by lot rather than, and I would eliminate as much as possible the deferments. I think that the policy that we're following at the moment is catastrophic, taking people out of graduate school and ending the deferments there. First, I think what my own ideas. First, I support in the general tenure and the general propositions of the Kerner report and what they've said and what they've suggested that we do. What I think that we have to do in the United States immediately is, number one, we have to make it clear that we can't tolerate violence and lawlessness and disorder in the United States. It's not acceptable that we are a nation of laws and that we're going to have to abide by the law. And I think that has to be accepted within our own country, that the riots and the violence are just not going to be acceptable. Secondly, I think that we have to, which is an important and integral part of all of that, I think that we have to end the injustices. I think we have to make jobs available to people. For one thing, I think we have to make employment available. I think when a person grows up, and whether it's in the cities or in any of these other areas where we've had these kind of problems, and is filled with hopelessness and filled with despair, and feels that he has no identification with society and no identification with government, then we're going to have these kind of problems. And as I said, I explained to you what the educational system is. The educational system doesn't educate the child in many of these ghetto areas. It's a custodial institution. It doesn't help the child. It doesn't prepare the child. The Greeks once described education as to meet life's chances and changes with versatility and grace. Vietnam situation does not improve. We are faced with the first international monetary crisis in 35 years, and the dollar itself is in trouble. During the last 25 years, a dangerous world has demanded our principal attention. It seems to me now that we need a new set of priorities. It is now time to take care of the problems of our own people, not to turn away from world responsibility, but to meet our responsibility to the people of the United States of America. And that's what I intend to do. It is time, it seems to me, to place the problems of Indiana and of America at the top of the agenda for this country. The next administration can begin in two important areas: the control of inflation and the preservation of jobs. For the first 5 years of the 1960s, the purchasing power of our industrial workers rose steadily. But in the last 2 years, it has dropped. What this means as a result of inflation is during the last 2 years, the paycheck of the average worker that he took home rose by almost $5 a week. But because of inflation, he and his wife can buy less than they could in 1965. And I don't believe that that's satisfactory. I think that we can do better. A $20,000 home, financed over 30 years, costs $6,300 more in interest payments than it did 5 years ago. This degree of inflation is unacceptable. A primary task of the next administration must be fiscal, monetary, and foreign policies that can bring the cost of living under control. And that is what I intend to do if I am elected President of the United States. This must include cutting out unnecessary government expenditures and reforming our tax system so that we can cut the budget deficits. I think that if you realize that the higher income brackets, those who make more than $200,000 a year, pay approximately the same percentage of income tax as those in the United States who make between $11,000 and $12,000 a year. There are many people in the United States making more than $200,000 a year who pay no tax whatsoever. There are many people in the United States who make more than $1 million a year who pay no taxes whatsoever. I think that should change. One of the wealthiest men in the United States, worth more than $1.5 billion, in a recent year paid $660 in taxes, and the next year went up. I admit, he paid $685 in taxes. I don't think that's satisfactory, and I think if we're talking about increasing taxes, that we should also have tax reform so that those in the highest brackets pay their fair share as well as everybody else.
Huh, I hear it.
They got that right style of music, haven't they? Well, now. Thank you. We have Walt Linder here. He's one of the precinct committee.
How are you? Good to see you. How are you? Good to see all of you.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Betul lah, tangga.
Oh, thrilling. Let's hope we get to.
like you to meet Senator Robert Kennedy. Yeah. Affected by keep proving that we got something going here. Let's hang on to it.
Oh, he is as he's coming down. Oh. Well, the cameramen are on the way too.
Except for this place here, I think they wanted to stop down by the Eagle statue.
Where's he at? There he is. Yeah, there he is.
Francis.
These are are they money bags or furs? Nobody really knows.
No.
Brighter out here than it does, you know. There it is, right? Get your hand out. I'm rolling.
Guy.
You see him? I was praying to go up the steps and through the window.